what's happened in the past has happened in the past. There is no prosecutable crime, and was not at that time. Is that a change in my position? No. All I'm pointing out as an intellectual matter is I don't think anybody says that every American president since John F. Kennedy committed genocide, war crimes, or crimes against humanity. But they have done things like blockades, which in the Cuban Missile Crisis was called a quarantine. And whether or not they could actually be convicted for those crimes, if a crime were to become prosecutable and jurisdiction granted, they could certainly be charged with that. And that the knowledge that they could be charged with that could be the basis for a chilling effect on the lawful use of force. Imagine if President Kennedy was making the decision about the Cuban Missile Crisis now, and in addition to having to weigh the factors he actually had to weigh, he had to weigh in the factor as to whether he or the allies in the OAS who are participating in this exercise could be prosecuted for aggression. That might have changed the calculus. And the question is, do we want the calculus with regard to lawful uses of force to be changed that way?
Rosa, do you want to add to this?
Yeah, I think two responses. One, do we have such a concern with regard to the other crimes? Yeah, sure, and that's indeed one of the reasons that the U.S. is not a party to the statute. It's an ongoing set of concerns. I don't think it precludes us from feeling strongly that engagement with the court and considering requests for specific kinds of support on a case-by-case basis makes sense for us going forward, given that we are in the year 2010, we are where we are. But those pre-existing concerns certainly remain. I think, however, they are greater in the case of aggression for the very simple reason, and this is more or less what Harold just said. I think that we have a pretty good sense in the year 2010 of the contours of what is a war crime, what is a crime against humanity, what is genocide. There's domestic case law on many of these issues. There's case law in foreign courts. There's international case law on these issues. Whereas when it comes to what constitutes a crime of aggression, from a judicial perspective, it's much less clear. So, given what we see as far greater ambiguity, particularly given the existing proposed definition, those concerns about potential politicization, those concerns about potential liability for both political and military officials are all the greater for the aggression crime.
Okay, thank you. Jane?
Jane Stromseth from Georgetown Law Center. Thank you all. This is a really great discussion. I actually have a question for Ambassador Rapp on complementarity. You mentioned at the beginning